All right, everybody, we are back. Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite. I am Eric Stambro from Canton, Ohio. With me, as always, is Ted Summers from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Ted, I just realized this right as I was about to start talking. So I have just a one dog handler class going on. And then I've been running around doing that. I was laying tracks. It was hot here today, doing all kinds of shit. I sat down, and right as I started talking, I must have moved my shirt. I'm like, ooh, I fucking stink. Like, I smell.
Yeah, summer is in full swing, man. We broke a 7-year drought in 21 days here. So and it's supposed to rain all weekend, and then after that, I got a class starting Monday, and it's supposed to be normal Oklahoma weather, so it'll be 90 something degrees with well over 100 degree humidity or heat index, and that's brutal.
So get this shit. I had a meeting just before I came here. The local sheriff's office here, where we're sitting in. I've known them forever because of my career in law enforcement and everything. They
you ran for sheriff.
I did, but not in this county, different county. But,
okay.
The county I live in is a little different. So they called me the other day, and they're like, "Hey, man." So the thing going on in here is this particular sheriff's office is in charge of their dog warden's office. The dog warden in most counties is separate. It's this whole separate thing. But now it's run by the sheriff, and I guess more and more agencies, more sheriff's offices in Ohio are picking up on that. Which I don't get. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, there's deputies that work there, so I guess you have a place for them to go, but there's no money. Like, it's just a suck on your budget. So it's weird that and this is a new regime, a new sheriff. So he's kind of inherited this stuff, but they have a guy, that deputy they get, who has killed like 6 dogs in 8 months, 7 months. He's just shooting these dogs out on the street. And, so they call me about it, and they're like, "We would like you to do, if you could, do some training, some for our people about aggressive dogs and not getting bit and everything like that." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, gladly. Let me come out and talk to you guys. We'll kind of game plan it." So yesterday, like the day after they call me, yesterday, video started coming out on Facebook. This dude fired 16 rounds at 2 dogs in a fucking people's front yard, like in a residential neighborhood. So needless to say, the sheriff fired him today. He did not follow any of their protocols. Wild West, dude. Like so there's a bunch of people videoing it. So there's videos all over. When I was there for this meeting, the news people are out there filming the front of the building. But yeah, this episode is brought to you by Kinetic Dog Food, kineticdogfood.com. Ted and I love it, man. It's such a really, really good high performance dog food, but also their 24K formula, we use it for training. It is amazing. A nice big piece. No chicken in that particular formula. So if you get a new dog in from Europe, you don't know if he's allergic or not, don't worry about it. Check it out, kineticdogfood.com.
Our friends out in North Carolina at Highland Canine Training run great green and finished dog programs, as well as an online and in-person police supervisor course. Hit them up at highlandcaninetraining.com. That's letter K number 9, highlandcanine.com. 30% off with the discount code WDR30.
This episode also brought to you by Horizon Structures, horizonstructures.com. They will custom build you a kennel, drop it off, hook it up to your water and electric, and have that thing running with dogs in it the same day. They can custom build one. They got some already pre-built. Check them out on their website, horizonstructures.com. Anything you need from mild to wild, they're there.
One of the longtime supporters of the show has been Ray Allen Canine in Colorado Springs, Colorado. They've been around forever. RayAllen.com, where you can buy literally everything but the handler of the dog and the patrol vehicle. Everything else you can get from them. Hit them up, WDR10RAY for 10% off your order. That's WDR, the numbers 10RAY.
One of our longest sponsors is Dogtra, Dogtra Official, Dogtra.com. We love Dogtra. Their products are so good. Their e-collars, their ball poppers. Ted uses all kinds of different things at his place, from pet dog e-collars to working dog e-collars. He loves the hands-free 1900S. They've come out with some new models lately and an amazing new bark collar called the Smart Bark Collar. Check them out. Dogtra.com, WDR10 for 10% off a single item over $200. Dogtra.com.
Somebody that's been with us since the beginning is Arnaud out in Vegas at ALM Canine Equipment. If you follow me on social media, you see me wearing my ALM suits all the time. It's all I wear. I've got several of them. Eric's got several of them. We love Arnaud. We love ALM, custom made in Vegas. WDR or WD Radio for 10% off. That's WD Radio for 10% off. ALM Canine Equipment. That's letter K, number 9. ALMCanineEquipment.com.
He reloaded. Like he fired 8 rounds at each dog and hit him like 2 times.
Oh man. Wow.
So yeah, not a good look. And I give him credit for reaching out. They're like, hey, could you like teach these people how not to, what it looks like with an aggressive dog? I'm like, it reminded me of a South Park episode where they could only shoot animals that were coming at them or charging them. So they were like, oh, look, he's coming right at me. And they're shooting bunnies and shit because there was some hunting law.
I remember that one.
He's coming. Yeah. He's charging us. It's a squirrel. Same kind of thing. So that was really weird.
Good Lord, man.
I had one other story I wanted to tell too that was unrelated to that and made me think, I don't know what made me think about sharing this. So I was just down in Texas last week. My son and his fiance had a baby. So I had my first grandson.
I saw that. Congratulations.
Thank you. And so we were down there and his fiance is Vietnamese and his parents and family are from Vietnam. So we go to have a dinner. I ate so much freaking food. I was so stuffed when we left there, but her dad doesn't speak a lot of English, some, but not a lot. Turns out this was a cool story. This dude was a South Vietnamese soldier who fought for the U.S., on the side of themselves in the U.S. He was at the end of the war, prisoner of war, POW. He was a POW for 6 years, 6 freaking years. He ate meat 3 times in 6 years. So he became a vegetarian, as you can imagine, but meat 3 times in 6 years. When he gets out, Ronald Reagan in 1980 has a program that if you fought, on the side of the Americans or with the Americans, you could come to the U.S. So, him and his wife then came to the U.S. and have been here ever since and have some kids and grandkids now and things like that. But this is a badass story, and listen to his kids talk about like what this guy did in a POW, man, for 6 years.
That's nuts. Yeah. That is crazy.
It was badass. Yeah, it was badass. So
we're recording this on a Friday. I've had a pretty eventful week before getting ready for this handler school. But last September, we had a dog die in a hot car. Car wasn't equipped with a heat alarm, and it's becoming more and more and more prevalent. We go to large training days here in Oklahoma, and I'll see 2 or 3 cars that don't have heat alarms in them. And every time it's cost, right? And if you're
so it's a choice to not have it. It's not broken,
right? And if you're listening to this and you're in the United States, and chances are, if you're a canine handler, you drive either a Explorer or a Suburban, which are both notorious for having air conditioner compressors that crap out. And when the problem is when they crap out, there's no audible difference in the motor running. It sounds the exact same because the compressor just keeps turning. It just stops working, stops compressing. So I and Alicia, we started our own 501. It's called Oil Capital Canine Fund. I've talked about it on here before, but one of the programs we have in there is called Absolute Zero. It's a reference to temperature, and it's a reference to the number of dogs that I think is an acceptable number to die in a hot car because of heat alarms. Absolutely zero. And in that, we're going to donate heat alarms to underfunded departments in Oklahoma. So there's some staffing requirements and there's some financial requirements, but I'm going to pay for them. Obviously, the guys at Ray Allen are going to cut us a deal on them. I'm going to buy them from them, and we're going to.
It's a good partnership with Matt and them at Ray Allen. That's good.
Yeah, and the next thing that we're doing is I'm working on getting a law passed here with our state legislators. I'm working with a former sheriff, a House Representatives member, and then a senator that is was a former head of a law enforcement statewide agency here to pass a law that's requiring, and shockingly, there is a single law in this country that requires heat alarms, and it's in Illinois. And I was floored to hear that. Pennsylvania has one that should be signed. I don't know what the holdup is on it, but so we're working on that. So, and then we're going to pass a version of Nero. I'm trying to get him to work on a version of Nero's Law too, to transport the injured dogs. So, and then we're going to bring people down for training. Like I'm going to have you come down and I'll just pay for the training. And then we're going to donate dogs as well. So to underfunded departments.
So let me ask you this. So the law, is it going to be an administrative law or criminal law?
Well, so here's what I'm doing. Currently, Oklahoma is one of 10 states that has a mandatory state certification. So in the gap, what we're going to do is require that to get the ability to even test for our state standard, you have to demonstrate that the heat alarm is functional.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Like, so you show up to your certification, you demonstrate that the heat alarm is functional. And if it's non-functional or non-existent, you don't get to certify. You can't run the dog, can't work the dog. So that way we don't really, because there's already like in our statutes, or in our administrative law, it already says should, like the car should have an alarm. It should work at this temperature. It should. I'm advocating for them to change it to will. Just change the word should to will. Then you have to have it. And then all of our state certifiers are on board with, like it takes 30 seconds to test an alarm so that we can do it. But the nice thing is every time you recertify, you have to show that the damn alarm works. So, and then on the other side, I'm not 100% certain what the ramifications are. And when there was some pushback on it, I kind of reminded people, I was like, we had to have a law in this state and most states that tell law enforcement that they have got to put red and blues and a siren on emergency vehicles, because you know that there's some sheriff that would duct tape a flashlight to the top of a car and give his deputy a fucking megaphone, and he'd be wee-woo out the window chasing people. And we're like, oh, you don't need it. It just says we should. And so it's every time I say that, everybody laughs, and I'm like, hey, it's a law for a reason. So if they do the legislation side, I'm not 100% certain what the penalties will be. But I think this administrative side will probably take care of most of it, but should be interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's awesome.
I've been working on this for several years, so I'm excited that it's finally coming to a.
There was 3 or 4 dogs last year in Oklahoma, I think, that died in hot cars.
Yep. Maine State Police had a single-purpose dog die in a car a couple weeks ago in Maine. Didn't have a heat alarm like that. I mean, it's the most preventable, and I'm not knocking, because we've had Brady on from Brady's Canine Fun. My guys use it all the time. There was a dog just saved at one of my training groups in Texas a couple weeks ago from getting shot. He got shot 3 times, and dog survived because he had a vest on. However, most of the time, vests are not and they're not really going to see that much use. And however, because the one that we're doing, the law would also affect search and rescue dogs that are assigned to Task Force 1 teams. So, because they're also susceptible to it. So, single-purpose dogs, dual-purpose dogs, search and rescue dogs, they're all susceptible to hot cars. So, it's something that, I'm tired of, because I've had, just in the last 10 years, I think Alicia and I have had 6 of our personal dogs that we have trained, sold, deployed, died in hot cars because admins refused to put heat alarms in cars. So, yeah.
Yeah, they tried to hear one time, one captain tried to stop it from, he just didn't want to spend the money, I'm just like, come on, man, like, come on. So that's cool. I might have to, so I think we talked about this, maybe mentioned this in an episode, that I got put on this subject matter expert board here in Ohio. There's 5 of us that are revamping the state certification for Ohio. But we're also revamping the administrative code when it comes to the canine stuff. And we were talking the other day, and it's been going great. Listen, if the guys are listening, I think a few of them are fans of the show. They're listening. It's been a pleasure working with these guys. Like, no arguing. I'll give you my side. That guy gives his side. What do you think? And everything has come. Nobody has flipped out or anything. Like everybody is hammering things out, and it's working out great. We made some changes. Most of the changes are better for the handler. But I think we're getting it in there, because the big thing is the 16 hours, right? 16 hour. It's not a law. It is not a law. It is a suggestion. It is not a law. Well, I think we're going to get it in Ohio where it is, because of that Springboro case out of Ohio, where it says you cannot use staffing as a reason whatsoever to deny canine training. So we're headed that way. I can't remember. We have one more meeting in July. We've done 4. We got one more in person this time to hammer it all out and then start rolling everything out to the evaluators, get everybody trained up on the changes and new standards. But I think we're going to get that in the code that you have no choice. You have no say. You must do 16 hours.
Our board is working on a version of that where somebody important is going to have to basically attest that during certification that handler has completed and documented the minimum amount of training for the entire year, or the time that the handler, and that it's been supervised, and that it's been like that they're supervisors are supervising. So, and they're still working on that too, but I think that's one of their way that they're going to like kind of backdoor it without having to have the governor sign it, which is nice. The guest that we've have on here, obviously I've never met him in person because you're going to find out pretty quickly that he's not from the United States. So tonight from London Metro Police is Neil By. Neil, how are you, man?
I am very good, thank you. Firstly, thank you very much for having me on here. I'm quite humbled and honoured to be invited on the podcast.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Alicia and I've been friends with you on social media for a long time. And we've interacted a lot and back and forth. And your name has always been one that, like, because we've had guys on from like Australia, we've had some guys on from Central America, and we've had people on from like
New Zealand, I think.
New Zealand, and Canada. So you have been on the short list for quite a while, and I think I reached out a couple years ago, and we never.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we couldn't necessarily get it put together. Alicia made me a nice custom made muzzle for my herder, which I've still got.
Hell yeah, back in the working dog dragon
absolutely
days.
Yeah, I got one. I can see it over here in a container over in my thing. I got one.
God damn, that's a long time ago. So let's just kind of start a little bit in your background. You said you've been a cop there for what? Since 90, so 28 years.
Yes.
So yeah, just talk a little bit about how you got into it and your background, and then we'll just kind of lead into all the dog stuff.
This episode is brought to you by Dogtra Official, Dogtra.com. You guys have heard us talk about it. We've been with Dogtra for a long time. We love them. They're amazing people. We love their product. There's so many different things that they do. The 1900S, the hands-free, they got all kinds of things, poppers, droppers, all kinds of different things with their e-collar. But I have been a proponent of their YS600 bark collars for a long time. Everybody knows I talk about it. When I had the kennel open, I would come in and show videos of all the dogs being quiet. The YS600, they have the YS300 for smaller dogs. But here's the thing, guys. They just came out with a bark collar called the Smart Bark Collar. Dude, this thing is amazing. It attaches to an app on your phone. You can control everything out of it, see in real time what's working, what isn't working with the dog. But here's the kicker. It catches whining. That's the big deal with that Smart Bark Collar. It catches the whining, because we all know your dogs learn to whine underneath the threshold of other bark collars, and it's super annoying. But with that Smart Bark Collar, it catches the whining. And in the app, while it's working, you can just reach up and hit the vibrate button. There's a little button on your thing that'll vibrate that if that seems to work a little bit better for your dog. Or you can actually administer your own stim as a little bit extra if need be. You can set minimums, maximums, sensitivity levels to pick up that whining. Check out dogtra.com. They have a discount code WDR10, 10% off a single item over $200. But check out that Smart Bark Collar, guys. It is amazing. We've been messing with it in my facility, and my employees absolutely love it. Check them out, dogtra.com.
Yeah, so I grew up in the country. Both my parents, they're clever. My dad was a dentist. My mum was a teacher. I wanted to be involved in dogs and police dogs from a very early age. I used to drag them round to, over here, RAF bases used to do displays. We've got American Air Bases, we've got Lake and Heath and Mildenhall over here. So they would do open days and all that kind of jazz. So I would drag them down there, because they'd 9 times out of 10, there'd be some sort of police dog display. So I knew I wanted to be involved in dogs from a very early age. I joined my current employer in 1997, did my basic training, went out to be a street cop, I suppose, as you guys would understand it, in April 1998. where I worked in the East End of London. Did that for a few years. That's entertaining. At the end of the day, it is what it is. It's normal policing. I moved from the East End of London to the North End of London, to another place that was pretty much like the first place I worked at. And then 2004, I think, 2004, I got approached by some people who worked in the explosive search dogs. And then I applied, and I was fortunate enough to pass the selection process. And I was a bomb dog handler for 4 years first.
Did you guys have dogs growing up?
I grew up with a Springer Spaniel. My mum is from the far north of Scotland. She grew up with gun dogs. So her dad had dogs he would go out and shoot game, and they would retrieve, and the usual gun dog stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I find dogs easier than people. I think it's probably is one of the
why we're in
things.
dogs.
100%. Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
I would much. I mean, as much as I have a bit of a redirection problem at the minute with my current dog, and I've got 4 reasonable sized holes in my left thigh. But I'd much rather go and speak to him than most humans.
That's hilarious. That's funny.
But it wasn't hilarious at the time.
So your whole life, so when you have these dogs and you're a kid in the spaniels, what do you see about them? Or is it just like, this is my dog? Or do you notice like, dude, this dog's nose will not stop working? You even pay attention to that shit?
I think I was probably too naive to do that. I think I grew up with a Springer Spaniel. I don't think he wouldn't have made a gun dog, if that makes sense. I think he came from like a show line kennel. He was lovely, and me and him grew up. I was born 1977. My parents got him not long after I was born, so we grew up together, which I think is where my passion for dogs comes, because he was, for want of a better phrase, from an early age, he was probably my best friend. And then, when you see working line dogs in our line of work, then you do tend to sort of look and go, oh wow, that's a bit different than the show breed.
Ted, have you had Springers come through your place?
Couple. Yeah, we've had a couple come through. And one of our state certifiers up north of here in Bartlesville, his name's Troy Newell, runs quite a few of them, and he's trained quite a few of them. And the ones I've seen, the ones I've trained have been bangers. They're nice dogs.
Yeah, I've had some English Springer Spaniels, and I've had some American bred farm Springers. One of them was amazing. The little Springers, they piss so much though. Fuckers,
They're
pee so much.
They're excited about everything too. Like everything is exciting all the time.
Oh, you're back. You were gone forever.
Like,
no, dude, I went to the store.
I've basically been gone 30 seconds. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
And when they pee, they're so low to the ground. I'm like, oh gosh, you stink. But when they start working, they're
off the chain.
Yeah, and you probably notice this, and we'll get into like the breeding and everything here in a little bit, is you find for sure is you cannot, and the vendors that you go to, they got to tell you the truth. Has this dog been put on bird wing, anything at
Fur
all?
or feathers.
Anything, because you're screwed. You can be screwed. Like I had one I sold to an agency. I go, listen, this dog is freaking amazing. Just don't work him outside. As soon as he goes outside,
I'm just looking for birds.
Never. It was almost like you were doing the laser on your ceiling with that dog. Never look down. It was crazy. So how'd that 4 years go with the bomb dog? Did you like it?
Do you know what? It probably made me the handler I am today. I had a tough time. My spaniel was a failed gun dog. And with a little bit of experience, you sort of learn that vendors don't give up good dogs. So he had his faults. The recall or coming back to me was one of them. I mean, I loved it. It was good. It taught me we have a very unique system of search in our expo dog world. So it taught me a lot, if that makes sense. And I loved it. I only did 4 years only because I was only young. I think I went to be a handler when I was 28. So I was still quite keen to go we call it garden hopping, to go garden hopping and fence climbing after somebody that doesn't want to get caught. So I did my 4 years. I was very lucky. I did a a marine environment search course where they teach you to climb up the side of moving boats and all that kind of jazz. So London's a fairly big terminal for freight, and you can basically drive a boat straight up the Thames to come out and be at the front door of Parliament. So there's a risk there. So there was a course to go and learn to ride on boats, turn up at the side of a boat. You have to climb up a caving ladder, which is no mean feat, and then you have to hoist the dog up, and you could conceivably be asked to search the boat if there's a question mark over the boat. So that was one of only, I think, something like 18 handlers in the whole of the UK that could do that at the time. It's a little bit more prevalent now. But, I was very fortunate to get the start that I did.
So what, like in your first dog, what does the typical school look like? Like in the United States, it's pretty standardized. I say that, but it's fairly standardized in the United States. And then we've had on, Steve from like Australia, and of course he's on the military side, but and I've talked to Mick Cornett down there too, that their school stuff is like way different than here. So talk a little bit about how you guys do your handler schools.
So I got given my dog about 3 months before I went on my course. So I got a juvenile dog. For argument's sake, if you're going to come in the unit and you're a new handler, they may well give you an 8-week-old puppy. So the dog school in London would breed the dog, which we'll go on to in a bit. They'd breed the dog, they'd test the dog at 49 days old. If it passes, there's a strong likelihood it will make a police dog. If it fails, then it gets sold to the public. So you would then bring that dog up, and then at 12 months old, you do, I think in my day, it was an 8-week course, Monday to Friday, 5 days a week. And you teach the dog from 0 to accreditation on a myriad of different, I think there's about, 10 different target odors. So that's all you do.
Where do they come up with 49 days? I'm curious about that.
So the 49-day test is the old Volhard test.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So it was doctored by a guy in London, and her test is obviously the pet dog test. But a guy, one of the breeding managers, one of my predecessors, Steve Dean, I think he doctored it for what the police want. And I mean, it still gets used to this day.
What is it? What are you looking for at 49?
So if you're looking at patrol dogs, you'd be looking at a social interaction test. So I, as the assessor, would stand in the corner of a room. They would plonk the puppy away from me, and they're looking as to, at 49 days old, they can't see very far, but they're looking as to what do they do? Do they come barreling up? Do they want to interact with you? Do they completely avoid you? Do they approach you but then come in at the side? So that's one test. They do a stress test where they pin the dog down on the floor. So they'll pin the dog down on the floor by its chest. The dog will create. Then they take the pressure away, and they're looking for the ab reaction and stress in the pup. Because like the best testing pups will be pinned down, they'll create, they'll scream, and the minute you take the pressure off, they'll literally mooch up and go, what was that about? They do a noise test. So somebody will call the dog away from me. I'll call the dog to me, and I'll drop a metal bowl on the floor. So 1, you're testing if the dog can hear. 2, you're testing its ab reaction to the noise. The stronger pups will stop, they'll halt, they'll sort of look, and then they'll walk over and investigate the bowl, rule it out as not a threat, and then they'll just carry on as normal. I added a couple of bits to it. I used to do a wobble board test. So I'd put the dog on a wobble board and see what it did. We had a little structure made at the dog school where you can put the dog in one part and it has to walk out and down a set of steps, but a couple of the portions are completely see-through perspex. And then what you find is the dogs will create, they'll freak out, and then they'll eventually get off there, but then you put them straight back in at the start point because you're trying to assess whether the dogs achieve learning. So what they should do is, let's say it takes 15 seconds to come off the first time. The second time it might take 9. So you can argue that the dog's learnt something. And what else? if you do the patrol dogs, there's a ragger test. So you get a little leather ragger and you sort of flirt pole them with a leather ragger. And that's probably about it, to be fair.
I would assume, and I might be wrong on this, would the noise test do most of them in, the ones that failed?
The noise test can do. Mm-hmm. Some of them, like the noise, will obviously really rock their world. And the gold standard in the test is where the pup, I had one pup once that sort of looked at it and went, yeah, that's a loud noise, and then went and sat in the bowl. And I've had others that literally they couldn't deal with it. So then they'll sort of come to you for support. So I would have to shuffle my body towards the bowl to try and make them investigate the bowl and realise that it's not an issue. But a metal bowl I'm 6'2", so a metal bowl from shoulder height can be quite loud for a 49-day-old pup.
So if they could recover, maybe they were afraid and you move towards the bowl and they could recover, they move on, or
you're just looking for the ab reaction to stress. So have you identified it? Have you dealt with it? Can you rule it out? Do you understand that it's not a threat, so to speak?
Yeah, when I had that Willow and all those puppies, the lab puppies, there was a lady in Indiana. We're on video and she wanted me to do that and she just was watching to see which dogs, because she had a facility that was doing all kinds of service dogs you could think of, diabetic alert dogs, seeing eye dog, everything. And so there was 11 puppies. There was 3 of them that she took and it was from the bowl test is ultimately what, because she was, 6 hours away, 8 hours away. So she went off of that, and all 3 of them, I think, worked out.
All right, our next sponsor is really good for the business side of this. If you're in the business of breeding or raising police dogs, or even just regular dogs, pets, or gun dogs, or whatever, one of the biggest hassles that we have to deal with is housing. Making sure it's safe, making sure it's high quality, all these things. Make sure it's sterile, it's easy to clean, we can feed. If not, it just creates an infinitely higher workload. On top of that, it's expensive. One of our sponsors from Horizon Structures, they do a great job at making a plug and play drop ready to go as soon as it hits the deck in your location. You have a gravel pad, hook it up to electricity and water. You can put dogs in it that afternoon, and all the guesswork is taken out of it. It's ready to go as soon as it gets there, and you can go from mild to wild. I've seen some that have stainless steel on the inside. It looks like an operating room. It comes with its own air conditioner, all the way down to just like a basic one you need to put in the backyard to satisfy your policy requirements. If you're a canine handler out in the back for a 10x10, he's got an indoor outdoor. He's got a little outdoor thing that's elevated, so he doesn't have to stand in any of his waste, and it's easy to clean. So everything from all the way from a single dog all the way up to, I think they do what do they do, Eric? They do 16 and 18 large sizes. So hit them up, horizonstructures.com, and they will get you set up quickly.
I don't think the test's perfect. I've seen dogs fail, and at the end of the day, it's 49 days old. The pup doesn't understand, so they can have a bad day. I've seen dogs retested, and they test a lot better, but then you have to be conscious that, they learn the most between 8 and 16 weeks. So you could be looking at their brains have just learnt the test, and they've realised nothing bad happens. So you just have to be guarded as to how many times you afford them the opportunity to sit the exam.
You're a new guy, and they give you a puppy. What is your job?
I'm basically a glorified
don't ruin him.
cover. Yeah, don't ruin it. They will basically tell you, and I did it in my time, that this pup passed testing. There is nothing wrong with it. If anything goes wrong, it's on you.
Mm-hmm.
And you would do. I think search dogs do 1 day a month of sort of structured training where they have to go from their unit where they work to the dog school. Patrol dogs get 2 days a month. And obviously you would take so outside of the structured training, it's your job to go and expose that dog to anything and everything you can. So train stations, obviously not straight onto the platform, but you take it out to the platform, you let it watch the world go by. I was very lucky, the unit that I worked at, we had access to Heathrow Airport. So we would go and take the dogs out, exercise them, play with their toy in the terminal, which is going to be one of the core parts of their work. So your job is to environmentally expose them to as much as you can with the help of some of your colleagues so that you don't go balls to the wall and break the dog. Your 1 day a month training, we had a guy, he's not with us anymore, Rolf Krogh, very, very, very knowledgeable bloke, like phenomenal knowledgeable bloke. I think he was the head of, Norwegian customs dog training. I mean, that boy's forgotten more than I'll ever know. And he designed a test to sort of assess search dogs from 8 weeks old to 15 months old. And he would correlate the results and he would say, yes, the dog's at the level it should be. No, it's not. So they get tested and then you go out and expose them to the retrieve, the recall, because a lot of people, like novice handlers, have problem with the dog coming back to them. And then if you add a tennis ball or a toy, it gets worse. So you've just got to try and nurture them on the right road to success, to then go on a basic course to be a licensed bomb dog team when the time comes.
Well, that's the thing. Like history has shown us that in the States, even the bomb dog guys can be busy, but in London and England and all of Europe, it's on another level, and much longer they've been doing it. Do you understand that as you're coming up as a bomb dog handler, how important that job is?
I mean, in London, like the royal family will not go into any venue unless it's been searched by a dog. So we obviously have the dogs, and then we have specialist search teams of officers that are trained to search buildings to another level. So that's how I got recruited. I did that when I was a street officer as a sort of bolt-on skill. So royalty won't go anywhere unless the venue's been searched. Parliament will not sit in the two houses, the House of Commons, the House of Lords. Nobody sets foot in that building till a dog's been through it. And in this country, we've had some issues around terrorism and all that kind of jazz. So, growing up, I knew there was the Northern Ireland issues going on. They were bombing over here. So, you do understand the threat level, and you do understand the job that's there to do, if that makes sense.
Well, it's busy. I know a lot of guys that get a bomb dog and they're like, man, I wanted to get a dope dog so we could go to court and make it. Dude, that was one of my things. I worked 4 dogs and they were all dope dogs. I wish I would have got an explosive dog.
It's quite stressful. So like I did 2 actual genuine legit threat searches in my time where there's a car up the road or whatever and you have to go and investigate that. Mm-hmm. That's quite stressful because the EOD guy will turn up and he'll look at you and go, is it safe for me to walk up there? And you have to say either yay or nay. And then you don't really want to be, if you do a building search, you don't want to be watching the news at home thinking, did I do that properly?
Yeah.
So there is a requirement to be, there's a requirement to 1, do it to the nth degree, and 2, be professional and apply yourself to the task.
Mm-hmm. Ted, does the president, whoever it is, doesn't matter who it is, come to Tulsa a lot?
Yeah, we've had, for different reasons, but Trump's been through multiple times. Biden had been through several times. Bernie Sanders is going to be here next week, so that'll be fun.
Do any of your guys have to sweep those, work with Secret Service?
No, what they'll do. No, because most of my guys are narcotics dudes. And most of the bomb dogs in Tulsa are run by Tulsa police, but they're TSA dogs. So they're stationed, they're pretty much at the airport. And I don't know if they do. I suppose that I expect that they could, but I don't ever hear of them being away from there. But most of it is not. I mean, most of the Secret Service stuff. Funny story though, my kennel is basically 30 seconds from downtown. It's like one of the largest metro areas in the country. And when Biden was coming through for the opening of the Black Wall Street thing, Secret Service stopped by multiple times because we were inside the bubble. And they saw a bunch of cop cars and they're like, why are you guys here? They're like, we're training. And they sure as shit called I had guys here from Tennessee and Kentucky, and they full on called, and their chiefs are like, why is the Secret Service calling, asking if you're supposed to be there? They're like, well, so the president's coming. But we had a lot of those dudes scroll through.
The other thing you guys have that only really a couple of places in this country is the tube. That's a whole nother animal, right? Your subway system.
Yeah, well, the last significant terrorist attack in this country was started on the tube system, and yeah, it's a nightmare. Like, a guy I used to work with was something like 2 weeks off an initial course, and he, with his expo dog, he searched from the concourse down onto the platform, down onto the lines, and he was one of the first guys onto the train where the device went off. So, as stressful scenarios go, that would probably have been right up there, I think.
Yeah, because you got to be a cop first. You got to jump in there and do cop shit,
Absolutely.
and then get that dog. And sometimes I think we forget that. You're like, yeah, you got this dog, but dude, you got to be ready to put in work. I mean, you got other things you have to do.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, so there's two guys so we have a van that's a response van for the whole of London. So they turned up. One of them went onto the bus that got blown up. He went and did his thing. He was a police officer. The other guy went and got deployed to go and search and get them a safe route to go and get the other emergency for the first responders onto the train.
Yeah, hopefully we never have to deal with that. So you worked that dog you did your 4 years with that, and then we got into what you wanted to do.
So GP in my world is patrol. So that was 2008. I think my dog was bought in from an outside vendor. And then he has to grow up. He does 2 days a month training. I was fortunate that I was able to take him to work with me when I was at the other unit. Sometimes that's not a thing because they would rather the dog sat at home licking his balls in a kennel. So I was fortunate that my dog could come to work. So I would do my 2 days. You do tracking, you do search for person, you do the retrieve, you do obedience, you do bite work. It's all the foundations to imprint the dog properly and to get it on the right track. My basic course was May to the back end of August 2009. It's 12 weeks over here.
That's not bad. 12 weeks.
Yeah,
right.
no, listen, the one thing that we do over here in where I work is 12 weeks is 12 weeks. It's set in stone. There's no shaving corners. We're very lucky that the management support that, and 12 weeks is 12 weeks.
Yeah, it used to be that way here. Some places I know, like the one department that I've sold dogs to in Maryland, they're 26 weeks, I think, half a year. Tell me the truth. By week 26, are you ready to murder the trainer? And the best day for that guy is his first day and his last day. And same with the trainer. The trainer's like, I can't talk to these guys anymore. I got fucking.
I mean, the trainer will have had enough by about week 12, won't he?
Right. Yeah. We were 14 weeks and then 14, then 12, and then it whittled down. I don't know what my old department is now, but I would guess it's probably in that 6 to 8 week time.
I mean, I've heard of some over here at 6 to 8 weeks. I'm not sure about that, if I'm absolutely honest, with an absolutely green dog that doesn't know what he's doing. But, I think
so you have to have kennels like Ted's where you pre-train, where the dog is damn near finished. And then you can get away with a 4, 6, 8 week, but not we can do it, but it's not. I
mean, I think if like some of the forces over here go to Holland, so you get a dog from Holland that can bite and it can do a little bit of obedience, and then 6 weeks, I think, is maybe a bit of a stretch.
Yeah. Yeah. So did you like it in the beginning? Were you like, this is some sweet shit?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's the best job in the world, isn't it? The hunting of man is good.
He did the bite work. He did tracking, you said?
Yep. So you start off scent squares. You'd learn to track. So tracking does bite work for fleeing suspects. He'll do, we call it search person. So you might turn up to a residential street where someone's, run away from a stolen car. As long as you can legally justify the deployment of the dog. So there's elements of law over here that says I can use the dog to effect the arrest of someone to stop people being unlawfully at large and all that kind of good stuff. So as long as I can justify the usage of the dog, then the most efficient way is the dog. You look at a street search, you could take 10 officers, 40 minutes to search a street. Whereas if the dog goes out, gets onto the end of target odor or the scent, then it takes a lot less time. My first dog did Class A drugs and firearms, so he had a shiny floor problem, whereby he found like laminate flooring a bit stressful. Only for person search though, which is a bit strange. So you do a legal challenge, and you could see him almost look and go, ugh, on a shiny floor. You bring him in he also did Class A drugs and firearms, so he was trained to do that. You bring him into a building with shiny floors, he would do Class A drugs and firearms, no bother on a shiny floor. Exactly. Very
That's so
strange.
weird.
Yeah, very strange.
Wow,
But you start giving a warning to the guy, and then dog's
Yep.
like, too much.
The dog, he knew, and he'd literally start stressing. I mean, not, with hindsight, now that I know a little bit more, he should probably have been withdrawn. But it is what it is. I didn't know a lot then. So you just got to go with the flow, and it's my dog. I brought him up, so I wanted to keep him. He did victim recovery as well. So, dead bodies, blood, all that kind of stuff.
Dude, how much freaking odor shit did you have to
Jesus
do? Like,
Christ.
what does your training day look like?
Well, so I think Class A drugs was 4 or 5 target odors probably. Firearms is nitrocellulose. VRD would have been rotting flesh, blood. We didn't do semen at the time. So I think with hindsight, and now that I know a little bit more, he probably had a little bit too much going on. Which is then where my force worked. We went off standalone. So now there's standalone victim recovery dogs, and now patrol dogs. You can do patrol. A bolt on is public order, so you have to do a 2-day course to go and deal with rioting people. The firearm support dog is another bolt on, but then it's sort of capped at that, because otherwise you end up being the jack of all trades and master of not many.
This episode is brought to you by our good friends, the Perkinsons, down at Highland Canine Training. Highland, Highland Canine Training. They are a really cool place, guys. They have a school for dog trainers, pet dogs and working dogs. That is an amazing spot, man. You can go there, and it's no joke. Like, you're not going to be there for 3 weeks and come back with some stupid certificate. This is like a 6-month school for dog trainers. You learn every aspect of it, including the business side of dog training, which can be tough, especially for us former cops or current cops or military guys that don't really know all that stuff. They've been doing it forever. They offer online courses. They sell police dogs. They have canine handler schools. They offer in-person supervisor courses. Check them out, guys. HighlandCanine.com is the website to go check it out. Everything's on that front page there. It's a very nice website. Check them out, HighlandCanine.com. For the supervisor schools, I think there's a 30% off with the discount code WDR30, HighlandCanine.com. I have a lot of folks that come here that train at my facility that are human remains detection dogs. And if you're listening, I love you all, but I always ask, are you just a ghoul who likes to have thumbs in your freezer? Is that a big toe? What are we doing here?
I mean, I can safely say I've never had any of that in my freezer. But, yeah, I love the work. It teaches you a lot about like field craft, and you can learn a lot about what goes on and who does what and when and why they do it. And we have over here, we have a lot of success with it, whereby a lot of victims' families get a lot of closure because they send out a dog and the dog pulls it out the bag, like with good regularity.
Now, is it a thing like over there where you have civilians that also have those dogs?
I think we have civilians that do search and rescue. So if somebody goes missing in the middle of nowhere, they'll tip up, and not
you guys have some of the most successful search and rescue teams in the world, without a doubt. And in England, we've tried to get some of those guys on, and they won't do it for some reason. But I can't remember that dog's name. I think the dog's name was Scout. The dog had like a 200 and something like recoveries, like up in the Highlands. I mean,
That's crazy.
It's an insane story.
I mean, bearing in mind, these people do it out of the goodness of their heart.
Yeah, out of their own pocket.
For it. They literally get a phone call and they'll almost drop everything and turn up where the person was last seen. So, yeah, fair play to them.
Yeah, they come here to the facility, and I, for the most part, usually don't charge them because I know it's all out of pocket, and they come up on a Sunday. It's always on a weekend, and when they could be doing something else,
Be having a beer. It could be on your boat. Yeah. They could be on your boat, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Stop making. So here's the best part. Now, I used to have to come up here and open my whole facility is gated in with an electronic gate. I used to have to come up and let them in. Well, now I have an app, so I can be on my boat with a beer and open the gate for them with an app. So it's pretty good.
Fantastic.
That's well squared away, though.
So you work that dog, and then you get another patrol dog. Or GP.
My first GP got, they replaced him early. He had a double gracilis contracture in his back end. So he still worked, but when he walked, it didn't look right. And so they withdrew him. They replaced him early. So my second dog, Ralph, I got him in maybe 2013. Yeah, that's about right. 2013, trained him, obviously did the 2 days a week, went on my initial course, licensed him or accredited him. I worked him on the street for a year before I got sort of approached and asked if I wanted to go and work as a permanent instructor down at the dog school.
Oh, nice.
Was that a goal?
Yeah, probably. I think it's good to, I mean, I went down there when was I, 2015. So I'd been a dog handler for 10 years. I mean, every day's a school day and I'm still learning. I still make mistakes. Hence I've got 4 holes in my leg.
Yeah.
I think there's scope to give back. You got to give back to so when I had my first dog in over here, you can do a trainer's course. So that's a 4-week residential course where you're like an environmental street trainer's course. So I was able to train the dogs on my team. So I was on a team of 10 other handlers. So I did a 4-week course where you get assessed and you're able to train dogs out on the street. So you might go and you'll say, I'm in, I don't know, High Street in Ilford, start the search at the front of my car, come and find me. And you basically play adult hide and seek. So I did that course, and then the next step is to go down to the dog school to do your sort of nationally accredited instructor's course to enable you to teach basic courses.
And you can do whatever discipline you want, or they want you to be rounded on everything?
So I did my patrol instructor's course in 2016. Then you have to shadow an initial course. So let's say, Eric, you're the main instructor. You have me sort of loitering. Gold standard would be that you say to me, Neil, you teach the course. I'm here if you run out of ideas. So I've got a safety blanket. So you have to shadow a course and then you have to teach a course from scratch on your own. I was fortunate that I was a bomb dog handler first. So that enabled me to be considered for an instructor's course in that. So they've just, in the last 2 or 3 years, they've changed the rules over here whereby you cannot teach Expo unless you've handled a dog for a minimum of a year. Because a lot of other forces, so you like some small force up in the country, they might have 2 instructors and they need to cover all the disciplines. So they would send people on the courses that didn't necessarily have the operational experience of doing it. So they changed the rules recently whereby you have to have handled a dog before you can teach the discipline.
I like that. I like that there's that they're taking it serious where you got to apprentice basically and learn and then apply it. Because a lot of places just next man up. Guy's been doing it the longest, guy retires, next guy, if you fucking done it, that put you in there.
I mean, I did Class A drugs with my patrol dog, but I've never done it with a search dog. I grant you I've handled a search dog, so I understand the mechanics. But I wouldn't choose to pontificate about like narcotics search with a spaniel because I've never done it.
Yeah. So now the one thing I know Ted really wants to talk about, because this has come up a lot, is
His
the
eyebrows are
large scale
going.
puppy program.
Yep.
That's one of his favorite topics, because it's so, you would think in this country we could do it, but we just can't seem to do it.
For all the money and space and people that we have in this country, you'd think we could get it together, but we can't seem to find our own ass with both hands.
So I went down to the dog school. I did my instructor's courses. I was put on the puppy development team, whereby, like I said earlier, handlers we would allocate them their dogs. So we would breed the dogs, test them. When they pass testing, you get a list of names, A to Z, and then you allocate them their dogs, and then they come for the 2 days a month training. Then after a little while, I was fortunate enough that I got asked if I would consider breeding the dogs. So that interests me. I was very fortunate that I had a couple of predecessors that I could sort of lean on if I needed to. Ian Mooland was one of them. Very, very, very knowledgeable bloke. Like, if you brought him on the podcast, he'd talk to you about German Shepherd genetics till the sun went down 3 years on Thursday. So he's a font of knowledge. Don't get me wrong, I've got my own knowledge, because I used to sit at work until sometimes midnight looking through genetics and learning what I wanted to try and breed. So in London, we used to have probably 50 brood bitches.
Oh, shit.
So that encompasses German Shepherds, Springer Spaniels, Labradors, Cocker Spaniels, and then I selected one brood bit. When the first crossbreed litter I did had 8 males and 1 female, so even I was able to select the brood bitch out of that. So we have those brood bitches that are on the books. They belong to the service. They live with a family that's down the street. When it comes into season, they make a phone call. Then you go on the Kennel Club website, you look at coefficients. You might have a plan as to the stud dog you want. And then they come in, they get blood tested for their progesterone levels. The vet would say, you need to go today, tomorrow. You'd go, successful mating, unsuccessful mating. And then they're born at the dog school. There's a fantastic infrastructure where I work. There's a breeding block, there's whelping rooms, there's kennels, there's you name it. So the pups would be born. I started early neurological stimulation because I saw massive merit in that. So we did that for a little while. So the pups get brought up in the environment they've got when they're a certain age, and they get basically put outside so they can watch the world go by. There'll be people doing agitation in one corner of the field. There'll be gun attacks going on somewhere, and they just learn and they soak in all of the environment around them, and it promotes them towards being basically what we would seek for a police dog.
You know, and we started out this entire podcast, I was talking about my 501 that we're doing with the heat alarms. But the thing that I keep hearing from you is that kind of the undercurrent here is that your administrators are extremely supportive, and clearly they see a value in dogs. Because you guys, like you said, you had 50 brood females. And I mean, when you said that, I was like, holy shit. Like, I kind of was like, wow, that is a lot of, and I understand it's spread out, but, you know, and it has got to be a cultural thing, because in the United States, I'm sure if you listen to the podcast, I mean, you know, you've heard Eric and I bitch about administrators where, you know, our canine handlers are selling T-shirts to pay for dog food.
I mean, we're very lucky because our management see the value in what the dogs can do. There is.
How old is London's program? How long
So the dog school was put so the dog school's at a place called Keston down in South London. It was put there in 1954. It's an old World War II site. It's very close to Biggin Hill, and it's shaped like an RAF station. So when there was bombings going on, they wanted them to basically bomb the dog school rather than Notting Hill, rather than Biggin Hill. So it's a spoof radar site. So that after the war, it was the police bought it, so it's been at the specific site since 1954.
Wow. I would say most agencies that I've ever come across, the oldest, their stuff started in the 70s. There's some 60s and 70s. We were 1985, which is a long unit, but nothing. That's crazy. I love it. But everything's older over there anyway.
I don't know, off the top of my head, I don't know entirely when they started breeding their own dogs, but it wouldn't surprise me if they started quite early on.
So you said the crosses. What were the crosses that you were doing?
So I started, I bred a Malinois male that belongs to a friend of mine. So Darcy's Home Atom is like World War III on a lead. He's a magnificent animal. He belongs to a friend of mine. I bred him to a German Shepherd female, and I was very fortunate with the product of the litter. Like I said, 8 males, 1 female. Every one of them, I think one got withdrawn because it had some medical problems. But after that, the other 7 have all turned out into being very, very good police dogs.
Yeah, that is not normal for sure.
Yeah, that is not normal. That is.
So I used his call name's Turbo. I used Turbo 3 times. I got told by a friend of mine that you should only ever really use a stud dog 3 times. Otherwise you get yourself in a bit of a cul-de-sac for breeding. I was also, when I did the dog breeding, my management, again, were very sick. They sort of, I'm not saying they didn't understand, but they didn't understand. So they would leave me to come up with the plan of what I wanted to do and the direction I wanted to go. I used another set of a friend of mine, Green Fox Gun Dog Kennels. They breed magnificent spaniels and Labradors and Cockers. So I was very fortunate to be allowed to use some of their stud dogs to make my program better. I found another guy over in Newmarket who's an ex-police officer. He now breeds Springer Spaniels, Jeff. I've never seen a 9-week-old Springer Spaniel hunt on concrete for scent like this pup did. It was phenomenal. And then, you sort of stand there and go, yeah, I'm in the right place here. I need to sort of nurture this cat to where I can get him to where I can buy dogs off him or use his genetics for breeding.
All right, this episode is brought to you in part by Kinetic Dog Food, kineticdogfood.com. We've been using Kinetic for quite a while at the kennel here at Torchlight. We feed the 26 and the 28K formula in feeding for the dogs all over there, but I also use the 24K for all of my imprinting for obedience and imprinting for tracking. If you follow me, you've seen me do the tracking stuff where I do the Dick Stahl method, who we've also had on the show. But it's great because it's large and it doesn't get greasy and gross in the pouch. I've seen a lot of dudes with drop pouches that look like they're carrying dirty socks around, and it's disgusting. This doesn't do that. It's not greasy. Also, it's not a chicken-based formula, so if you get dogs in from Europe, you're not sure if the stomach is going to handle it. And it's a fairly low-calorie version, too, so you can do 1,000,000 reps and not have to worry about dog getting fat. kineticdogfood.com. Also, we've had the guys on the show before, and they talk about it, but they do a lot to make sure that the protein bases are nice and pure and that the stuff that they're adding to it actually adds additive to it, and they're not filling it with pocket lint and sawdust like a lot of other foods. So hit them up, kineticdogfood.com. Get set up.
I would say in this country, and Ted, I don't know if you agree, just from based on what I see, is that Malinois Shepherd Cross, there's more Malinois Shepherd Cross than there's regular full Malinois. Were you the first to do that there?
Me? I was I was the first to do it in London, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Was there pushback or was there skepticism on it?
No, they left me to it.
I've had some bangers come through. I call them Champenois, that were just magnificent animals. I had a kid graduate from my dog school or from our handler school on a Friday, and he got in a fight with 3 other deputies on Sunday night and bit the shit out of a dude with this dog. And dog was just turned 2 and is a monster and super stable, super social. Dog's fantastic. And they're, I've seen some really, really, really nice ones.
I mean, I did their puppy days, their training, and I remember like it was yesterday. So I was an IPO helper in my spare time so that I could get more exposure to dogs and learn stuff outside of work. One of the litter, the first litter, the hunter litter, one of them at 9 months old hit me like a freight train and turned me inside out. I'll never forget it. And, I was exceptionally lucky with how that litter turned out.
Well, that's the thing. You get this speed of the Malinois and the head of the shepherd.
Absolutely. And then you're definitely fighting to win.
That's how Tygo is. He's a monster. And it's another thing in the United States. There's a lot of departments that will only use shepherds, so they look close enough. So I've had departments and they're like, we only want a shepherd. What is he? I'm like, what's he look like? They're like, he looks like a shepherd. I'm like, there you go.
It's a brown shepherd.
Yeah, he's just a light colored shepherd. Don't worry about it. He bites.
It's fine. The head every time too. It's the head that gives. We'll Ted and I will be training somewhere and we're like, oh, nice shepherd Mal. I think he's all Mal. I go, no. Look at his head. It's not.
It's like the litter I bred. You look at some of them from a distance and they've got a Malinois head. You look at some of the others, they've not. One of them was very thin and athletic, so he looked like a Mal, whereas some of the others had a sort of shepherd body. So yeah, I mean, you can manipulate that how you seek.
Yeah. So now has that continued? Is that a thing now?
Yeah, the guy that does it now, he's done. They've got one on the ground at the minute that's 6 months old. They're shaping up quite nicely, and he's trying to do some more of it. We've got some financial cuts coming at the minute, so there's potentially 35 of us losing our jobs in the unit. So I think he's he's just been told to sort of hold fire at the minute until we get some sort of stability. But yeah, I think it is a potentially, I mean, I only know a little bit, but I think it's potentially, like you said, Eric, you do get potentially the best of both worlds, which in our line of work is what you're looking at. We don't need to breed the perfect dog for the kennel club. We need to breed a really good police dog that can work on the street.
Yes, and that the Americans are weird because we have this odd fascination with breeds and as well as race, which is a thing, and it's so annoying here. But so we have these deals. They're like, well, what's he look like? What is he? And I'm like, well. Because when we have Dutch Shepherds here, like my Dutch Shepherd's sitting across the room from me. She's sitting over there, and they're not even really a recognized breed, or they weren't until very recently in the United States. So when you would see them, they're like, it's a Dutch Shepherd, and people are like, well, what is that? And they're very like weird about like it's got to be a this or it's that, and yep, and nowhere else in the world do I hear the term purebred other than in the United States. And it's a U.S. thing, and it is maddening because I'm like, what kind of dog is he? I'm like, I don't know, one with 4 legs. Like, it's a dog, man. It's a dog, bro. Like,
the crossbreeds that I did, bar one litter, I knew the exact genetics in the dog from the German Shepherd side and the Malinois side. So you're not going to know entirely what's going to come of it, but I took an educated guess, and thankfully it worked out. I've got 2 herders of my own. One was bred by a friend of mine, so it is a herder, like the brindle female mother, black Malinois dad, and she's black. She's 11. She'd still fight a shark tomorrow. She's mental. So yeah, it's just papers are one thing, but functionability, is that a word? Functionability is the more important thing.
So how many schools and handlers did you run through while at the instructor position?
I think
or how long were you there? So
6 years. So I think I bred knocking 200 dogs of all breeds. So my employer, they only breed when there's a need for dogs. Other forces in the UK can breed for. Some of them they'll breed to like West Midlands have got a very well established breeding program, and a lot of other forces in the UK will go to them. So they run a puppy program. They'll breed them, they'll test them, they give them to a civilian to bring up, then they bring it in, train it, and then they get it to a point. And then if they don't need it, they're then offered for sale. The Met, we don't routinely do that. I have sold dogs to other forces. but that was when I had one brood bitch knock out 14 pups out of a single mating. So I think I needed 6. So I put 7 up for sale, and I think I posted an advert on an internal system at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 9:30 I'd had 24 phone calls. So my employer has a very good reputation for the breeding program, the structure and the genetics and the health checks and yada, yada, yada. So, people want dogs bred by the Met because they've got a very good breeding program.
So now you're back on the road, right?
Yes.
That was your choice?
Yes.
Good.
So I did a confidential project to help one of the firearms units with some of their dogs. They had some dogs that are loosely based on a UK Special Forces sort of program where you have SWAT over there. So we have SWAT guys, but we also have the armed police over here. So the armed police routinely patrol. The next level up is the CTSFOs. So they have dogs that work with them that can do certain things and certain disciplines. So I did that project for a little while. I helped them with the selection of their dogs. They went over to Holland to buy dogs and all that. And their program was 10 weeks with an instructor, then 10 weeks with the handler and an instructor. So I got a dog from Holland that was basically mine for 10 weeks. I taught it some stuff. And then that sort of reignited my, you know what it's like. You have your own dog and you're like, oh yeah, I miss this. And, the dog was mine until I give it to the handler. So that sort of, I think 6 years, it used to be a 166-mile round trip to go to the dog school from where I live. So I did that 4 days a week for 6 years. So then I thought, I'm getting a bit old. So I went back out I asked if I could go back out on the street. There was no guarantee. But at the time there was vacancies. So my chief inspector at the time, he was very good to me. He allowed me to go back out, and work went to Holland to buy my current dog. So then I trained him and I went back out on the street, September 2021.
Nice. And you're happy?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The only stress I have is in the back of the dog van.
So that's all you have to do is handle.
When he's attached to my thigh.
Right, yeah. So dog calls is all you have, right? You don't have to handle other crap.
I still do training. So I work on a team of 7 other people. So there's me and 5 other patrol dogs. We have a supervisor on each team. We have another handler she just has search dogs. So that's our team. London, for what we do, is split into 4 quarters, and I work in the northwest quarter. So we have a good portion of London to work. And yeah, it is good. It's very good. When you see your dog pull something out the bag that police officers have been searching for 40 minutes before you get there, and the dog finds it in 2 minutes flat, and you have a smile on your face, it's the way forward.
That's a universal story, I think.
Absolutely.
So I was going to ask, because you kind of talked about it a minute ago, earlier on, about the Justifications Act, because we have reams of case law in this country about when and where and how and why. But what type of calls, in London specifically, I guess, are they asking the patrol dogs to deploy on?
Technically, we could go to most things. It's a case of dog handlers have to be sensible. If there's a 13-year-old kid that's done a shoplifting, he perhaps doesn't need to be searched for and found by a police dog, if you catch my drift. Because if he overreacts and the dog goes, whoa, game on here, then that's not the way forward. We have, so suspects on burglary in progress, we would do that. Robberies, car theft. We have a bit of a problem at the minute with aggravated burglaries where people find cannabis grows and they go and attempt to steal said cannabis armed with machetes and God alone knows what else. So that's more of a thing that it's pertinent. We do miss spurs because we have a bark and hold. So the bottom line being is that you may well get sent to a high-risk misspur that's the person's gone missing, it's out of the ordinary, it's out of character, and they were last seen for a hypothetical scenario, they're last seen walking into a forest. So for argument's sake, you could be thinking, okay, they're having a crisis, so we need to find them. So we would use the dog for that. We do property searches. So, you see the police, you run away from the police, you discard something, we would go search the route because there's the dog's evidence. I have to interpret the dog's evidence. He obviously can't sit in court and speak. So there's a stated case over here that says I'm the expert witness that can interpret the dog's behaviour. I spend a lot of time talking to my camera. So we have body worns. And when I start to see my dog's tail going like a helicopter rotor blade and he starts to work more, you'll hear me say, oh, we're close to something. Because, gold standard is I don't really want to go to court. I'd rather the defence barrister says this bloke knows his dog and he knows what he's talking about, so I'll leave him alone. What else? We do school visits. That's another thing. You can go to an aggravated burglary at 10 o'clock in the morning. You'll go and do a school visit at midday. Firearm support, that's a bolt-on. We do public order. So you can deploy off of your normal dog car to do spontaneous public order. Ted, you were talking earlier about football and that. So if there's a football matches over here get graded. So the more aggro they feel like it might bring, so they might put dog resources on it to try and alleviate that. So, it might be as little as you sit there and you don't do much for the day, but you might, when all the football fans are in close proximity, you might just have the back of the dog carrier open and then all the dogs create and bark, and then people realise, oh, the dog section's here, so we'll not have a pre-scheduled punch up like they were seeking to.
Another little gang fight is what it looks like. So, Ted, you can tell this that Neil knows his audience, because he said earlier he's 6'2", so there was no British, and 166 miles. Ted talks, he says meters and kilometers.
I mean, I wouldn't know what 166 miles is in meters.
Everyone gives the Americans shit because we won't use the metric system for anything. And then the British and the Canadians are the same way. Like, some things are like metric, some are standard, some are the stone thing. I don't know what that is either. So
stone is 2.2 pounds to the kilo, 14 pounds to the stone.
Okay, good to know. So the last thing I want to talk about, just out of curiosity, so you IPO helper, when you're starting a dog in tracking, do you do IPO style tracking to teach?
So over here we do scent squares. Mm-hmm. So on the day of, like we said earlier, the pups would be tested at 49 days old. A couple of days later, you'd get the handler in. You do a 2-day allocation. The first one is, there's your puppy, be nice to it, give it a stroke, whatever. The second day, we would start them on scent squares. So it's IPO style scent squares. You do that for 3 or 4 weeks, do 2 scent squares 2 or 3 times a week. Then you turn it into what we used to call a snail trail. So the scent square's a metre square, then you lessen the size of the square to try and get it to a rectangle. And then we do it where you do a snail, you sort of shuffle your feet backwards and you lay food every 6 to 8 inches diagonally to simulate footprints. And then you extend it. When the dog's ready, you extend it. And before long, you're searching every footstep. It's not a requirement to visit every footstep like it is in IPO, because when they get the hint that there's a toy at the end or there's a suspect at the end, funnily enough, the speed of the track goes through the roof. So as long as we can, pattern tracks are the best way to sort of assess whether the dog's, for want of a better term, following the pattern. But then you bring in hard surface, you bring in woodland tracking. When I did my firearm support, the SWAT dog thing, the instructor there, very knowledgeable bloke, he would come back and he would say, okay, starts here, we're looking for 4 people, go. And then you've got, 2 or 3 miles to go and hunt 4 people out. And it's, like I said earlier, it's very good fun. hunting for people, as you know, Eric.
Oh, yeah. London has a lot of concrete and blacktop, a lot. You start in grass? Probably one of my favorite companies to deal with in this industry is Ray Allen Canine. What I really love about Ray Allen Canine is I need one website. I don't got to bounce around to a bunch of different places. I go to rayallen.com and everything I need. Because remember, guys, I have a pet dog training business, same with Ted, and we do police dogs. I'm a pet dog owner. Anything I need dog related. It's not just working dogs stuff. It's dog stuff. Anything I need, Ray Allen has. Rayallen.com has everything you need from leashes, harnesses, bowls, anything you could possibly do. And here's the cool thing. They're always innovating some really cool stuff. If you follow them on their social media, you'll see Matt on there demoing a bunch of cool stuff they have. They're out in Colorado, got an amazing facility out there. One stop shop, nowhere else to go and look. Rayallen.com. Use the discount code WDR10 RAY for 10% off. WDR10 RAY for 10% off at rayallen.com.
Start in grass. Most of the training is in grass. And then on your initial course, you might do multi-surface. So you might start on grass. You might find an internal roadway, a dust track, and then you'll go and you'll introduce it gently. I've watched the Dutch are very good at hard surface tracking. I've seen some very old Ed Frawley videos of the Dutch police instructors imprinting hard surface tracking. So I've spent a good amount of time, I've spent a good amount of time in car parks in my socks because it's, I want the dogs to learn the most, I want the dogs to be imprinted properly. So you imprint socks, then I might wear trainers, and then you go to a residential street. I found good success. If you imagine residential streets that have a wall at the front garden, and I lay the track in the right angle of the wall to retain the scent, then I might move it out into the middle of the pavement, and then it may just be as simple as 50 meters to a toy. Then you do it again, and then you do 50 meters, but you do a 90-degree turn through two specific cars so that you can see if the dog's taking the mick out of you. Some of the dogs on my team, my second dog, I remember one of his last jobs before I gave him up to somebody else. I went to a stabbing where it turned into a murder, and the perpetrator suspect had left the address. So I put the dog out to track, and I was certain that the dog was tracking. Could I say definitively who he was tracking at the time? No. Where we got to a bridge, and the suspect had been seen left the venue with cans of alcohol, and my dog goes halfway over the bridge and indicates on a discarded can of alcohol. So I was like, okay, we're definitely on here. And then I get down to a major artery road, and the dog tracked to the crossing, and then because of the traffic, it sort of impeded our progress. But the long and the short of it was I was able to say to the other officers doing the area search to expand their search in a different direction, and they found the suspect drinking the other cans of alcohol in a public park, and he obviously got arrested for murder.
Yeah, I'm just going to kill somebody and go here and sit in the park and have a drink.
They'll never find me. Unfortunately, that happens more often than not.
They'll never find me over here.
Yeah, exactly.
4 blocks away. So you listen to the show. You've been with us for a long time. Listen to the show. You talk to a lot of American trainers and everything. What do you tell them? What do you see as the biggest difference between us? I would think Bark and Hold is probably one of them.
Bark and Hold. I think I have a lot of time for Mr. Gooseby. I spend a lot of time watching his stuff, and the LAPD. I think I saw them the other day on Instagram where they were like they had some serious hair gel on the go. Bless them. So I think Bark and Hold's a thing. We don't do sort of find and bite. We're not allowed pinch collars. We're not allowed electrics. Way back, some people in the past have said training. I'll call them training aids for want of a better term. They've abused them, so the government banned them. In Wales, you can't actually put an electric collar on a dog because I think the minimum sentence is 6 months in prison. I think they're trying to ban them in this country, which hasn't been successful yet. Personally, I can see some merit in them. I think if you had the ability to communicate with the dog for a 40th of a second rather than tearing its head off with a check chain, I think that's structurally not very good for the dog. But we're only allowed to train within the means we've got access to. So I think different things, the breeds, you do dual purpose. We don't really do that. I think West Midlands Police did train a Malinois to do drugs, which I think worked out very well. They're a high drive dog, so I don't see why it wouldn't. Malinois are apparently very good at victim recovery, but I don't think a force in the UK has done it yet. When I did that confidential project, I taught the Malinois to do certain elements of Expo, which I think I'm probably one of the only ones in the UK that's done that. So, I see merits in the different breeds. I'm a proper herder person. I had 2 German Shepherds, but having my pet herder in the kitchen, she's a different level. And what's the phrase? You have to learn how to drink out of a fire hose with a shot glass real quick.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's a good one.
I was very lucky. I've got a friend of mine, JK, he bred my herder. So he's a police instructor in a different force. He's an exceptional decoy, probably one of the best in the UK. He won't admit it, but that's because he's quite humble. But he bred my herder, and they're from very, very good, strong KNPV genetics. I think they are very good for what we seek in policing, if that makes sense, because that KNPV program is a good stern test of an animal when they're trialing.
Oh yeah. Ted, did you ever? I can't remember if I asked you. You ever import a titled dog, a titled KNPV dog?
Oh yeah.
I don't think I have. I think
I've imported the only titled dog I haven't. Well, I haven't ever bought an NVBK or French ring titled dog, but I have bought multiple IPO or whatever we're calling it now. And multiple, I don't know, what do they call IGP now?
IGP, I think it is now.
Yeah, whatever.
But it will change on Thursday.
Yeah, and I actually, one of the nastiest dogs I ever got was one of those. And when I bought him, they said it took him 3 times to get his one. I was like, what's wrong with him? Is he stupid? And they're like, no, he tried to kill the judge during tracking and obedience. I'm like, oh wow, okay,
we can deal with that.
Yeah, I can handle that. I can handle that.
That's more for us than it is the point.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, okay, I'll buy them. And then I've bought multiple KMPV title dogs, PH1 dogs, and they're great. They're super easy to train.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like they're already. I mean,
some of them come over with, look, motherfucker, one more correction, one more.
Yeah, that there
one
is
more,
that.
and you don't know that. Right,
and that,
correcting, they're like, that's it.
No, there are some of those that will, and that's the thing. Like each one of them, there's not a what's the easiest way to say this? There's not a like common denominator running through them, other than they're generally harder than Chinese algebra. But they're like that's common,
harder than woodpecker's lips.
Exactly, but they. Some of them are very tolerant and some of them aren't. So they each have their personality. I bought 2 at once and they were from the same breeder and they were like 2 completely different dogs. Like one you could hammer this dog and he was like, whatever. The other one, if you raised your voice too much at him, he'd look at you and you're like, oh, hey.
I mean, I've got, I can relate to that. I've got 2, one that JK bred. That dog, like she will come back if she disagrees with correction. Whereas the one that I bred, they're half sisters. So the one that I bred, if you get out of a chair too quickly, she's like, oh, here we go. I'm going to get the good news for some reason. So they are completely different. The one that I bred's got, there's a dog called Doolan in her genetics. I think he was called the Black Bulldozer, 2010, come 6 in the KNPV Nationals. Phenomenal animal. But she's nervy's the wrong word. She just doesn't she's a little bit windy, whereas the other one's like is a top tier animal. She'd have made a fantastic police dog.
So last thing, 21 years in dogs, still handling a dog. You're learning some shit still because the dog's biting you.
Free lessons as well.
Right. What do you tell the guy that's 2-3 years into this who wants to do this a long time about learning and things like that?
I have a current thing. I think I read it somewhere. Knowledge isn't free. You have to pay attention, which I quite like.
Yeah.
I think my role now is to sort of mentor people. I've got two and a bit years left before I can technically retire. So it's time to sort of not necessarily train my replacement, but when I did one of my instructors courses, one of the instructors, basically, he was very knowledgeable, a bloke called Steve Whitcomb, phenomenally knowledgeable bloke. And he said, the information in my head is readily available. You can have it, but I'm not chasing you to give it to you. So, I think my thing now is I mentor people. We work together. I try to teach new handlers that when you turn up at a search, you identify the bare minimum search requirement, then you add 50% and then you add a little bit more. Because if you're tenacious and you try your hardest and give your all, you will get success. There's a friend of mine, Erica, she's got a newish dog. The dog's been out on the street 9 months. And she's had something like 18 or 19 live suspect finds, which is quite rare in London. And it's because she is very tenacious. She will apply herself and she gives the absolute maximum she can, add a little bit more times 3. And, at the end of the day, if you work hard, you will get success. I'm trying to do some mentoring to get people to do some of the training courses. Some people can be a little bit reluctant because you don't get any thanks for it. You don't get any extra pay for it. So trying to nurture people in the right direction is currently where I'm at before I up sticks and retire and go and play golf.
I tell Ted and I've talked about this a bunch. I always tell the young guys, look, man, when they call you to come out with the dog, don't tell them no. Don't say no over the radio. Get there and try. At least try. Even if they've boogered everything up, and there's no way you've got to trample this down. Let me give it a shot. I'll give it a shot.
I did a job once where I got called. There'd been a foot chase. Okay, so this supervisor's giving me a street briefing, and I used to have a thing with my first dog where I'd let him out of the car and he'd just be mooching about until I called him back in a sterile area. I'd call him back, but this supervisor's given me a briefing and he's talking, telling me, oh, down there, we've come round here and I can see the dog's tail doing this over a wall. And I said, whatever you're looking for is over there. And the supervisor, he's like, what? I said, whatever you're looking for is over there. And the dog had found a carrier bag full of herbal weed. What did you call it, Ted? Funny oregano or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So he found a carrier bag full of weird oregano. And I mean, the sergeant was like, how have you done that? And well, sorry, but just the dogs, they don't forget what they're doing. But yeah, I think because we've got potentially financial cuts coming, the bottom line being the dogs are a very valuable resource. They do earn their food. But yeah, I mean, if you just rule it out over the radio, then you're on a hide into nothing, because it doesn't hurt to get the dog out, because you will get success if you try.
Yeah, for sure. Neil, this was awesome. We loved it.
Yeah, I feel like we only kind of scratched the surface here, because
we have to do a round 2 here in a bit.
Yeah, because we covered a lot here, and one of the things that I kind of wanted to highlight here is the differences in how you guys kind of operate, because it's 2 different countries. I mean, you guys have very, very strict firearms laws. We obviously don't. It's a thing here. And so it's interesting every time I have people from other countries in, like we had some guys from the SAS, from the Australian side. up here at the kennel, and they're like, "God, man, like everyone here has fucking guns, like everywhere." I'm like, "Yeah,
Fucking Walmart. Go to Walmart.
yeah,
They got
yeah, you can go.
18 people
Yeah, I
wearing
mean,
them.
yeah. I mean, people.
to be fair, there's a few people in London with guns. They just shouldn't have them.
Right.
Well, yeah. You say a few here, like everybody that shouldn't have them has them. So, so here, like our canine guys do things very, very differently, and so it's interesting, but the program, like, and that's kind of like what I was saying earlier, is it sounds like you guys they see the value of the dog, and versus like us, we have to fight for everything, every resource, except for SWAT. SWAT never has to fight for anything. I mean, they won't shoot anybody for 3 years and they'll get $500,000.
I mean, it's the same here. The firearms unit get heavily. They get a lot more finance than the dog section does.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. I mean, but it still sounds like
the dog guys are better looking. I don't get it. We're better looking than firearms dudes.
Yeah. They've got better hair than I have.
So what's a couple years this dog going to take you to the end?
Yep. He's 5.5.
Oh yeah.
So I would technically have to apply for my own job in a year. And obviously I don't intend on doing that. So by the time he's 2.5, he'll be pushing 8. I mean, he's a 39 kilo Malinois, so he'll keep going till he's about 20. So yeah, I'm quite fortunate. And then I'll find something to do when I retire, probably.
All right. You do you have any social media to plug? Because people are going to want to reach out to you for sure. I'm
on that LinkedIn thing under my name. I'm on Instagram as Von Raider, VONRAIDER. I am on Twitter, I think, as PD Havoc. That's my dog's name, Havoc, which is a friend of mine once said it's more of a statement of intention than it is a dog's name. And I'm on Facebook as well. Before we finish, fellas, I just want to say that keep doing what you're doing on this platform, all these conversations and the stuff with different units and different people. You make a real impact in the community, and we need voices like yours now and going forward. So
that's very kind of you. Nice.
I have a lot of time for worthless handler Gary. I love the boy's work.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely desperate for him to pull his finger out and do a worthless instructor shirt. So he needs to sort that out.
You hear that, Gary?
He listens. Gary listens, so he'll hear it.
If he hits me up, I'll pay whatever the cost is. I just want a worthless instructor shirt.
Is Von Raider? This is, I don't know if you can see in the camera. Is that you? Let me see back.
Yeah, there's probably pictures of me lifting some weights in the gym.
Yep, that's it. Yep.
Von Raiders, me and my friend JK. That's our kennel name. We haven't actually bred dogs for a while, but that's what it is there. So, I mean, if anybody wants a chat, then hit me up. I'm quite open to. I think Gary's done a worthless handler group on Facebook that I interact a little bit on. That's quite entertaining. So, if anybody wants me, then I'll quite happily chat to anybody about dogs.
Somebody that's been with us since the beginning is Arnaud at ALM, based out in Vegas. Arnaud makes fantastic bite suits. I've been a senior level PSA decoy for a long time. All of my trial suits are ALMs. I love them. I've sent my one jacket back multiple times to have new sleeves put on it because it fits so well. Arnaud works with you through the process, helps you get a design set up. In fact, when I went out to see him in Vegas, he had my original design still in my original pattern still in the workshop there. And he was able to make me another jacket just out of the one that I have that's like 10 years old. He made me another one. Super high quality materials, super high quality stitching, great service after the fact if you have to have repair work done. Hit him up, ALM K9 Equipment. That's the letter K number 9.com. ALM K9 Equipment. Use this discount code WD Radio for 10% off. Another person that has been with us since the beginning is the person that wrote the music for the intro and the outro on this. His name's Brother Deeg. He's no longer with us. He's a super talented musician. And I actually met him at a live show here in Tulsa. Super nice guy. He was super supportive of what we do here and what police dogs do in general. And he was gracious enough to allow us to use the music for that. But shout out to Brother Deeg. Rest in peace, buddy. wherever you're at, you can look at him on iTunes and on Spotify. Just Brother Deeg, spelled Dege, and it's brotherdeeg.net.
Yeah, I'll reach out to you in there. Ted and I don't get on the groups very much. I'm in some of them, but I just don't get on them very much. But it's been fun in there so far. It hasn't been ruined. It's only been a couple months though. So.
The attitude in there is substantially different.
Yeah, right. Like sustainable, maybe.
I'm being a little I'm being political. It's definitely a different feel in there than it is in some of the other ones. So I'll leave it.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. Ted, what about you? How can people get a hold of you?
Ted_Summers, Torchlight K9, letter K number 9, Torchlight Pets. We have like 17 pets at the fucking kennel right now, and I think we have like 10 in homes, plus all the damn police dogs. So like I had dogs running through the other day, and I'm like, who is that? Where did that dog? Did this one just walking off the street? The girls are busy. And then Oil Capital Canine Fund, capital like money, because we donate dogs and we donate heat alarms, and I'm trying to get laws changed in Oklahoma, is on Instagram also. We're just getting that started. HRD Police Canine. We still are going to do Mass State Police. It keeps getting moved around. And then we've got some other stuff coming up, and I'm headed to Europe soon, probably in September, for that project we're working on in Eastern Europe or in Bulgaria.
Fake taxi.
So, yeah, exactly.
That's what I think it is.
Exactly.
He won't say, but I think it's fake taxi.
Fake kennel.
exactly
That could be a thing.
Yeah,
couldn't it?
yes. Yes, I like it.
And
Nobody wants
what about
to see
you?
that. Van S K9 on Instagram and Facebook. Go search my name, Eric Stambro, on Amazon and buy my book.
Oh, yeah.
I got my e-collar without conflict for pets and working dogs in there. It does pretty good. Like 10 copies a day. If you get one and you see me somewhere, I'll sign it for you, which I've done. I've signed probably, 200 copies. And it's cool. It's a little humbling. Not a little, a lot. I'm like, really want me to sign it? But check it out on there. It's $15. It'll help you. You pick up some things in there to help yourself, and maybe even help your some of your cohorts there, some of your buddies. I always tell people at my when we do like Hold the Line conference, I'll see guys like elbowing their buddy. That's you. He's talking about you. Or that's Johnny. Yeah, he needs to be here. That type of thing. But the book's been pretty good. I am gonna. People keep asking. I am gonna do the audio version. I do need to do an audio book. It's as it turns out, it's a lot of work. Actually, a lot more than I expected. You just don't read the book. You have to do a file, read a file for every chapter, put it together in certain order, and do it. It's I don't know, man. I'll do it. I just been traveling a lot. So, anyways, all right, Neil. Thank you.
Yeah. Neil,
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
We'll see you on the internet.
Yeah, no problem.
Next time, guys.